How's it going? I'm Matt from Bethesda, and we're here with Bethesda Game Studios. These guys have actually all worked on the game, the Fallout series, for over 10 years together. We've got the art director, Istvan Pele.
Hello.
Lead producer, Jeff Gardner.
Hello.
Lead writer, Emil Pagliarulo. And you guys don't need to welcome, or you know who he is. Yeah, let's welcome him. Here's Todd Howard, the game director of Fallout 4. So the game was announced about 2 weeks ago. We showed it at the showcase at E3. How are you guys coming along with the game?
Great. You know, we're where we need to be. There's a lot to do yet. We build really big games, but you know, we make the games that we want to play, and it's a blast to play, and we're really excited to get it out to everybody.
You know, and the joke that when you tell someone you're a video game developer and, oh, you play games all day, you know, no. So 3.5 years, you're not playing games all day, you're making them. But now it's sort of the part of the project where you are playing the game all day, trying to, you know, play it and test it and fix it and get it where it's supposed to be. So
I've played the game probably 400 hours, and I'm still finding stuff that I haven't seen yet. Surprises.
Yeah, this is my favorite part of the project. This is when it all starts coming together. It's clicking. So much fun. We're having a blast.
I think that's one thing people don't realize is they think like that we know everything in the game. Like you think like I would know everything in the game. I actually don't. Because we have a studio that's worked together for a long time. I know most of the stuff in the game, but like I'll be playing the game and run into something and be like, who built this? What is this? Because it's so big. And then, you know, I think collectively we all know everything in the game, but usually we'll ask each other.
What do you really think makes this feel like a new Fallout since the last one you put out?
I think, you know, for every game, we step back and we look at, not as a sequel, but like what makes this Fallout? What is the essence of Fallout? So, you know, this is something where we step back and we're constantly reinventing things. And so this is a whole new take, a whole new vision.
Well, I grew up in Boston, so for me, the Fallout 4 has an entirely different meaning. You know, it has a very personal connection to me.
It has a lot of different tones through the world because it can be very scary, and then it can get kind of, at times, almost B-movie goofy, but it all kind of works together.
In Fallout 3, I think the people who live in that world are very cognizant of they're in this destroyed world, you know? And so we looked at that again and tried to think, well, what if, you know, it's not so much about the past. You know, this is what they know. This is their world. So there's a little bit of, you know, there's a post-apocalypse in a destroyed world, but there's a glimmer of hope sometimes too, because there are people that are getting on with their lives. And how do you look at that too? And how does that, you know, inform the different stories in the world?
So, Istvan, when the team was finishing up Skyrim in 2011, you were actually putting stuff in the world already. What was that like, kind of being the first guy on the front line?
Yeah, it was pretty cool. I mean, I went straight into this game right after Fallout 3 was finished, and after we had finished all the DLC. So I was still very much fresh on just having completed that project, and deciding, like, all right, what do we want to do this time that's different? We want to keep things fresh. We don't want to repeat ourselves. Fallout 3 had a very distinct visual style. It kind of, you know, you look at a screenshot, a video from it, you can easily identify it. But this time we kind of went back and sort of looked at it, and a lot of it for me was, okay, what is Fallout? Look back at Fallout 1. Like, what are some of the vibes you want to sort of carry over? So we looked at, you know, introducing more color, more variety in the world. There isn't sort of a tonal grading over the whole game visually this time. You look back at original games, the vibrancy of the vault suit, that color blue, the way it pops on screen, these color
We had a
accents.
lot of blue debates.
Yeah. Very specific
A lot of
color.
green debates. Actually.
How blue is your game?
How blue is blue? That isn't bright green. It's more.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The exact color green for the interface, all those little details. So it's going back and trying to find what the essence of the original game was, and trying to keep it fresh, trying to do something new.
Do you remember what the first thing you did for the project was?
Yeah, I think originally, you know, for one of the things we want to do with this game is really look at doing a post-apocalyptic city, Boston, trying to doing a really dense, realistic, large city. This is going to be one of our most richly detailed and dense environments that we've ever done. So a lot of it was for me looking at doing a small vertical slice. What's that going to feel like? Introducing new elements we haven't seen much of before, more verticality in the environments.
And we had a lot of conversations early on too with the environment and the location to be recognizable, right? And DC's easy. You know, you've got the Washington Monument, the Capitol building, and so that was part of was talking about, you know, what is it visually about Boston that stands out too, that separates it from another city? You know, red brick streets and a lot of, you know, classic architecture that sort of
Fenway Park, that stuck out a lot. To
Yeah,
us.
Fenway
We
Park.
got to get Fenway in there in the right way.
Yeah.
When did you guys kind of get to the decision that was going to be the next Fallout location?
We debated for a while. We had some seeds in Fallout 3, and we felt that Boston was kind of the right. It's got the right mix of like American history mixed with high tech. It's very good for Fallout. Plus, it doesn't hurt that Emil grew up there, so you know he could talk more about it.
Yeah, well, I remember the conversation with it. I remember the moment actually when we decided the game would be in Boston. It was Todd and Istvan and I in Istvan's office, and they were talking, and I'm thinking in my head, like, are they going towards Boston? This is what I'm hearing. Like, we're all sort of talking
And
about
he didn't want to oversell it.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, I didn't want to be
Right.
like, yeah, let's put the game in Boston. And so we finally decided, let's, you know, set it in Boston. And Todd just turns to me and says, is that okay with you? And I'm like, all right, now we're talking. Yeah. As a developer, as a designer, you know, and you're making the game, Boston, they call Boston America's walking city, you know, and so there's a lot. You can fly into Logan Airport and you go downtown Boston. You can see a lot in a very short amount of time. And so I'm walking around in the game and I've gotten homesick, you know. I'm like, this reminds me exactly like, oh, this is here, you know.
Does it look the same?
Ouch.
Yeah. My house is in the game, destroyed. So
Wow.
single tier.
It's also a very visually intriguing environment too, because Boston has so much character. It's got a very specific look to it, all the red brick and whatnot, and introducing the Fallout elements to that visually in terms of like the high tech, the skyscrapers, the more futurism, blending the futurism with sort of the historical colonial quality to it. That was very exciting to try to figure that out.
So you created a ton of work for this. I think we've got some footage of actually the concept art that went into creating all this. So Todd, I think you go into this that it's every little detail in the game is important, even from every
Yeah.
monitor in the game.
You know, we always say that. I think it's hard for people who play our games to, you know, wish they could be a fly on the wall in the office sometimes and see just how obsessive we get over all the details. You know, and we're not showing all the concept art here. We just possibly, you know, we can. But the lights there really are. I really like those images because it's almost symbolic to this like obsession with like, what are the labels on these blinky lights and like on every computer in this area, because someone, you know, we like people to be able to stick their noses in it, and so despite it being like, I think a lot of times our stuff maybe everything feels really grand, but we're also a first-person game.
Yeah.
So we need to hold up at both scales that you can stick your nose in it. You know, credit to our artists. They are amazing.
Yeah, our concept arts are fantastic, and because of the unique nature of Fallout, like everything has to be designed. Every vehicle, every prop in the world, the architecture. There's so much we have to draw to cover for artists to build them. And you see a fraction of it here.
I almost think this video may even do a better job than the footage we put out of showing you the different styles and palettes of what you're going to see in the game world.
We actually go back to some of these environments after we built them, paint them over again, and then redo them in the game just to make sure everything's perfect. The lighting and the shadow and how everything interplays.
Yeah, early on there were one or two concepts that I think the artists riffed on, just coming up with I think like a city street, and we were like, well, could we actually do that in the game? And we hadn't. It wasn't the way we built spaces before, and we actually ended up changing our process a little bit to make some of these doing architecture like that and showing destruction in a different way.
And the big thing we do, and this was tricky with what Istvan was building originally, is that we have a lot more non-loading space because it's all destroyed. So it's harder to do here's a big castle gate and you click it. So we wanted these really crenulated buildings and with the light coming through it, and so the concept artist could draw really crazy stuff like that. And with the new consoles and the memory and the tech, we're able to build these things where it's a lot more free-flowing. Particularly, downtown was the biggest struggle technically to get going at the detail level we wanted.
The building of settlements and the weapon customization, that seems pretty crazy and ambitious for you guys. I think we have some footage of that right here. So did Did Hearthfire play a big part into this from Skyrim, or was it just something you wanted to do all along?
I wouldn't say we do a little bit of this in all the games we do. So when Hearthfire was being made, we knew we were doing this, but it wasn't. I wouldn't say one had anything to do with the other. It's just this one is completely. It's a completely different animal. So this really became like we'd like to do it. Can we even do it? And I think the inspirations are pretty clear here. Things like Minecraft and other games that we like, and that we could do it really well in a world like Fallout. And
I remember discussions actually because Jeff and Todd and I think our kids were playing Minecraft around the same time, so we would have these discussions about like what are our kids playing, what are they creating, and
Terraria was another one.
Yeah, right.
Where people will come to your, and one of our artists made that. I just thought it was so awesome. It's like we got to put that in the video. Like that's not. He built that, and then set up all the. You can set up the wires and control them. One of the things we don't show because it's, we couldn't get in the videos. He made a music player too. Like you can make things that play audio tunes and then plug the terminal in and adjust the pitch, and so.
That's the visual programming, kind of being able to do that, or how's that work?
Yeah, because we have terminals in Fallout, we can kind of get away with like pseudo scripting without you getting in and modding and scripting, because you can build a terminal and then access everything on it. And so as the artists and the other designers make new things, they give them properties, and those properties will feed back to the terminal, and you can see those. So like, it works well in the game, but we're more excited to like get it out to everybody and then see what they make with it. Because you look at what people do with Minecraft, just with basic timers and switches and redstone, it's bonkers.
So working on the project, Jeff, does it feel like you're a parent or an overseer making sure all this stuff's getting done to hit the release date?
In some regards, I have 5 children, so it's not nearly as difficult as that, honestly. But
one's enough for me right now.
Yeah. They're wonderful. But like I said, we are blessed to work with some of the best professionals in this industry. We're still sort of a scrappy team in a way. We're just over 100 people, not nearly as big as some of the other studios. So we're able to really have great rapport, an individual rapport with most, all our developers, and really get like this great, I hate the word synergy, but that's what it is, going between different departments. And we empower people to do what they love when they come to our work, and they're really like, what can you contribute today? It's not like we hand them a task sheet or anything along those lines. We find surprises all the time in the game, and those are generally, for us, some of the best things in the game.
Like, we've been working together, for 10 years on the Fallout series, right? But that's representative of the company, too. Like, most of the people at Bethesda have been there for a long time, so we've worked. A lot of people, most of the people on the team, we've been working with them for years, so you get to know them. There's a certain flow and energy, and and just how they work. And how to communicate effectively with them. And
people see the end result of what we do, but we're coming to the office for 4 years, and we spend a lot of time together. And that's, I think our creative energies together, everybody in the team, that really shows through in the game.